Hello and welcome to Cinder Sports. I am your host, John O'Donnell. This is a replay of my interview with Adam Scott of the Akron RubberDucks. Adam was called up to the AA affiliate of the Cleveland Indians from the Lynchburg Hillcats last week. He was an all-star down there in the Hillcats with the Carolina League. He unfortunately didn't get a chance to play in the game because he had been called up, so they didn't want to risk injury or anything like that, and I understand that, but as you'll hear, it was kind of an honor for Adam to be named an all-star. He's a very young pitcher. I think he's 23, 24 years old, and most importantly, he's from Canandaigua, New York. That's a small city where your host, John O'Donnell, is also from. So I have found it very interesting to follow his career as he comes up in the Indians organization. He's doing really, really good. He's a big lefty. He, as you'll hear in the interview, wants to be a starter in the major league level. I think he's got the goods. He's got the mental makeup. And again, he's a good old boy from Canandaigua, New York. He went to Wofford for college. He was a dominant pitcher down there. And he's doing the same thing so far in the Indians organization. So I hope you enjoy the interview. I hope you also download and listen to the entire show from June 22nd, which also included an interview with Ryan Sparks, who was competing at the Golden Tee World Championship and joined us live from Las Vegas, and all my thoughts on the NBA draft, the trade for Anthony Davis by the Lakers, and many more things. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Overcast, and you can listen to us live on SKORadio.com, the TuneIn app, Simple Radio app, or any Roku-enabled device. But without any further ado, here is Adam Scott of the Akron RubberDucks, and this is Cinder Sports with your host, John O'Donnell.
And now, here is your host, John O'Donnell.
And welcome back to Cinder Sports. I am John O'Donnell, joined as always by Aaron the Voice K-Back.
The Voice.
And we are fortunate enough to have Adam Scott with us. Adam is a pitcher now for the Akron RubberDucks. He is one of the top prospects for the Cleveland Indians. He was a Carolina League All-Star with the Lynchburg Hillcats. And now he is joining the show. He is also, just so you know, from Canandaigua Academy in New York State.
Canandaigua.
Oh, there's a spelling contest coming. But with all that, we welcome Mr. Adam Scott to the show. Adam, how are you today?
Oh, thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for joining us. Let's start with a really hard-hitting question here. Which is harder, having to spell your hometown for everybody or striking out a batter?
Oh, definitely the hometown. Definitely the hometown. If you're not from the area, explain it all out. Say the name a couple of times and work them understand it. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, and watching somebody pronounce Canandaigua for the first time is always one of my favorite things in the world. And I don't know, you and I are separated by a few years, but when I was in school, they taught us to spell it using Mickey Mouse. So it would be Canandaigua. We would sing it. We were kids. It was great. I'm now 40 and I still sing it to spell it to people. It's just easier that way. I don't know if that's how they taught you how to spell it, but I always found that entertaining.
No, we actually, that sounds pretty good. I might have to steal that one. We never given that little to you.
Well, and Adam, not only can you steal it, but what you do is you get some of your teammates to do it themselves, and then you Facebook Live it, and you have social media blackmail for months. So,
True.
Adam, one of the reasons I think that you are so highly thought of is you are one heck of a strikeout artist. I mean, just looking at your stats, when you were at Wofford, you led the conference in strikeouts your senior year. You were third, I think, in the Carolina League in strikeouts before your call up, and your ratio is like more than 1.3 per inning. I mean, it's just amazing. Is that kind of a badge of honor? Is that what you want to be known of, kind of as a strikeout artist?
Yeah, I mean, strikeouts are pretty cool for sure. But at the end of the day, I don't necessarily care as much how I get a guy out. So if I'm a strikeout artist, ground ball guy, it doesn't really matter the way we go about it as long as we get the job done.
What makes you so hard to hit? I know you're a lefty, and you're 6'2", you're kind of tall and lanky, but what makes you so hard to hit? Is it your pitches? Is it the speed of your fastball? Like what makes it so hard to hit Adam Scott when he's on the mound?
Yeah, so I think you saw the lockdown, it wasn't too hard to hit, I'll say that much. But, no, it's going to happen. But, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. My delivery and my onslaught that I throw out was a little funky. So it kind of, can take a little bit to get used to. And then on top of it, I have a little bit of velocity to my fastball, too, so we can sneak up on guys. I think it's just a combination of, trying to figure out the batter's weakness and get the ball to that spot. And then when I get 2 strikes, I can just kind of be unpredictable because I have 2 pitches to go to that. I think are pretty solid.
Very good. And I think what happens in minor league baseball as you move up is the way you continue to move up is you maintain consistency and you continue to be good at what you're good at, right? So how do you maintain that consistency? I mean, you're very young in your career. This is your first call up to the AA, but as you prepare to do really well here in Akron, what is your preparation for maintaining that consistency?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And like you said, all it does come down to is, what you do in preparation on a daily basis. So as a starter, we go on 5-day rotations. And day 1 being the day you start, obviously Tuesday is the one after. And so 2 days after, each day I do the exact same thing on a 5-day plan. So the day after I start, I always do the exact same recovery methods, exact same throwing for that day, so on and so forth. And, that carries along for days 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back to a start. So it's trying to, in that time, picking the right times to, be able to push your body a little bit and push your arm and, get good, solid, work in, and, also being able to recover so you can be ready to go for that next start and get, as close to 100% as you can be.
That is a very professional answer, and I'm really impressed by it. And people hear that, I think, and they say, well, that makes sense. We'll just continue to do the same thing, and then we'll get the same results. But as we know, that's not how baseball works. It is a grind, and being able to successfully do that is a real attribute, and I'm glad that you have that. And you mentioned Thursday's start. Didn't go as great as you had hoped, I'm sure. But you got a win, Adam. You won your first game in AA.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of the sport. You don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to do everything great. And you got plenty of teammates that'll pick you up. And luckily we had an offensive game that day that was one of the better ones of the year. So it was nice seeing that. It's always great seeing a win next to your name, but at the end of the day, it's not your name and it's not your win, especially in that kind of an instance. That's really more of the team picking me up. So just putting them on in the bank. So I'll have to do the same thing for them at another time.
Well, what's interesting to me, Adam, is I followed your season in Lynchburg, and you were very consistent. I mean, it was pretty much 6 innings, maybe a run or maybe 2, and we're not going to give the numbers of Thursday's start because that's in the past and it doesn't matter. But I am wondering, it was your first start at a much different level. What were your feelings going onto the mound? Were they any different? Did nerves play a role? Just what's that adjustment been like being here in AA Akron compared to single A advanced down in Lynchburg?
Yeah, so there wasn't any nerves start off. At the end of the day, I'm still pitching 66 inches. It's what I've been doing my whole life. Yeah, it's now my job. So obviously, no matter where you go or whatever you do, you gotta be able to perform and do it. But really all it came down to was, it was a C game as far as stuff goes, just sharpness of pitches, consistency, and fastball location. And so the biggest difference that I noticed between high and here, AA, was really just the fact that you miss a spot and they'll make you pay for it a little bit more often, or they'll do more damage with it here in AA than they would in high A. Okay. And all it was, a few swings got me, a few big swings where they did some real damage and scored a few runs on them. That's really what got me. But, if I do a better job of making a fastball to a better spot, those big hits could easily turn into just singles or even, hard ground outs. Who knows? But that's the game. That happens.
Well, we are talking with Adam Scott of the Akron RubberDucks, and again, formerly of Wofford, and then Canandaigua before that. He is a top prospect pitcher here in the Cleveland Indians organization, at least in my mind, and that's all that matters here on this show. When you started, when you were first drafted, you talked to Bob Chavez of the Daily Messenger, who was a good friend of mine, and I found a really interesting quote there where you had said you hadn't gotten used to being called a professional baseball player, and now you have been one for a couple of years. Do you feel comfortable calling yourself a professional baseball player now, Adam?
Yeah, I still have to pinch myself every now and then, and remind myself how lucky I am to be able to do what my dream and live on my dream and chase after it. But it's starting to get a little more real, I guess, at this point. But it's definitely I'm definitely lucky. Very lucky to be able to say it.
What was the moment where you said to yourself, yep, I can do this at this level? I mean, there had to be a moment. Maybe it was a strikeout of somebody who was a good hitter or just walking into a certain locker room. What was that moment where you're like, yep, I'm here and I can do this?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I've had a moment like that every, kind of each step of the way so far, because each one is a different experience. But really, it's the moment I step into, the moment I see, a pitch thrown in a game. I'm like, yeah, I belong here. I'm just as good as anyone else here, and I'm not any worse than anyone. Like I definitely belong. So.
Well, you certainly do, and we wish the best for you. I'm really excited to see how you do here at Akron, and then again, not getting ahead of ourselves, but the plan has to be to pitch for the big team, and they've got a lot of good young pitchers already up there. And I wonder, how do you feel you fit in long term? I mean, you're a starter now, but you're a lefty who throws hard with a different arm angle, and those types of attributes lead to maybe a mid-reliever, maybe a closer role. Do you see yourself as a starter long term? Has you had any conversations on what that is, on what your role is?
Yeah. So as far as conversations with the organization, I think really there's not much of that that's happening. I'm starting right now, and my plan is to try and ride out starting as long as possible. Just makes your career more valuable. You generally pitch more important innings. And, the thing that I always saw is starting pitching isn't for everyone. Everyone can turn into a reliever. So, my hope and my goal, I don't want to be just another guy. I want to be the guy. So if that's the case, I got to take on the bigger role and be a starter, even though it might be a little more difficult. So my plan is to, push and succeed as well as possible to force the issue of me being a starter, but if they ask me to turn into a bullpen guy of some sort, then so be it, and I'm going to take that role and kind of roll with it, and, no pun intended, but roll with it as well as I can.
Well, I think you have the makeup to be a great starter in the league, and I look forward to seeing you develop. We've been joined by Adam Scott of the Akron RubberDucks, and I'll let you get out of here in a minute. Just a couple quick questions. I mentioned that you were an all-star in the Carolina League. I know you didn't get a chance to play because of the pending call-up, but what was that experience like? I mean, a lot of your teammates were also named all-stars. What was that experience like being called an all-star? I mean, it had to be special.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty cool. For sure. Obviously, you take it with a grain of salt because you can't let an accolade change what you've been doing, or let it get your head too big or anything like that. But more than anything else, it was kind of humbling to be able to see that next to your name, just because at the end of the day, like you said, it's professional baseball, and to be named an all-star, even though it's not the big league yet. But it's still professional baseball, and to have that next to your name, and with some guys that are really, really good ball players, and some guys that are really good ball players that didn't have that called next to their name. So it's a very, very cool, humbling experience, and definitely something, at the end of the season kind of thing I'll look back on and be proud of. But right now, you got to keep pushing to get better and can't be caught up in that kind of stuff.
Well, I give you permission to be proud of it because it is a great accomplishment. Not that you need any permission,
Right.
Adam. You're an amazing guy, and really, I think you mix humility with confidence, and that's exactly what you need to do to be successful in life, not just baseball. So continue that, my friend. Before I let you go, you have any given amount of time you need off to enjoy life, as it were, not just baseball. How is Adam Scott going to enjoy life or a vacation? What would your dream free time activity be?
Oh, I'm a big fan of going hiking in the mountains. I would really like to actually head out if I had a long time to do a little West Coast excursion. Go to Yellowstone, the Grand Canyon, do some hiking, that kind of stuff. Possibly find a pond or two to go fishing, and kind of just hang out and be in nature and have a few beers along the way with some friends.
Yeah, and you probably win a rock skipping contest there with that fabled left arm of yours too, my friend. So, hey,
oh man, I don't know if I might take my arm fall off.
Hey, thanks for joining us today, Adam. You have been fantastic. Best of luck. I'm sure we'll see you down there at Canal Park. Again, thanks for joining us, and continued success, my friend. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
All right. And that was Adam Scott of the Akron RubberDucks. As you can tell, really an amazing young man. He has, if it weren't for the Plutkos and the Plezaks of the Cleveland Indians and how good those young pitchers are, we'd be talking about Adam Scott. He is that good. And he's young. He's going to have to adjust. He did get hit around a little bit at Canal Park on Thursday, but watch this kid next time out. I guarantee you it won't be the same. And I loved his comment about, I don't want to be a guy, I want to be the guy. That is exactly what you want in your starting pitching, and honestly, that's what you want in life. You want to feel that way. I don't want to just be a accountant. I want to be the best accountant. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be a radio producer. You want to be the best radio producer.
I already am.
Well, shit. What are we doing here then? No. The point being that, and then you mix in his answer about the All-Star game.
Right.
I don't want to say forced humility. There's a learned humility there. He knows he's good. He knows he's good. He's been good since he was pitching in T-ball, which is a joke because there is no pitching in T-ball. Point being, he knows he's been good forever. Since he was knee-high to a grasshopper, as they'd say in Wolford or Louisville. That's what they'd say. And they'd say that Adam Scott is going
Wofford, not Wolford.
I was trying so hard. Wofford. Is it Wofford?
Wofford.
This is what happens when I try to pronounce words correctly. I should have asked him about Gates Chili, which is a suburb of Rochester, and see what he called that.
It was my understanding that there would be no math.
Or reading or spelling or geography or anything. I'm terrible at all. I failed school. The point being, he mentioned you don't get caught up in accolades. Mm-hmm. And he believes it. He's not just saying that. He believes that. You could tell with his answer that he knows that path that he needs to follow. And he's going to continue to do it to the best of his ability until somebody makes him change it. And I don't think anybody's going to. I think he's got the ability.
I think when he finally does make his way up to the big club. Not if, when.
Yeah.
Based on what you were describing, I do see him starting out as maybe the closer or maybe middle reliever with the way that, a lefty and the way he throws like that. But I don't see him holding that position very long.
The way this usually goes down, and I would literally, if Indians, if you're listening, and you should be, if I hear a spot start for Adam Scott is happening, which is usually what happens, somebody gets hurt, there's a doubleheader, they need somebody to come up out of Akron because we're closer than Columbus. Mm-hmm. Spot starts from Akron are very common. Bring him up. Let him open up a game, 3 innings pitched, 1 run. And of the hundreds of thousands of fans that are at Progressive Field, I know it only holds like 70. But anyway, I will be the loudest because this kid is going to get that spot start. He's going to earn his position on the team. It might take a few years, but if you look at his progression, he was drafted in 18. He spent 1 year in the lower leagues because he pitched a lot in college. They wanted to kind of keep his arm fresh. Mm-hmm. He comes up this year with Lynchburg, and he was killing it. He was just killing it. I mean, he was striking out a batter and a half per inning. Mm-hmm. That is awesome numbers. This start, I think he only had a couple strikeouts. He said nerves didn't get him, and I believe him. But this is a different level.
Yeah.
And I don't care how good you are at controlling your nerves, at controlling your emotions. It is difficult to come up to that level and not feel something. And I feel like that probably played a role in it. His first start being one of his worst starts wasn't a coincidence.
And I think a lot of that has to play into the fact that, the opponent is going to see, we've got new meat. We need to break him in.
Sure.
And they're going to bring a much bigger game. They're going to say, you can't throw that Carolina ball here.
Right.
And so get that out of the way. Get that ugly start. Kiss the ugly sister and get that out of the way so that you can move forward. And I think he's got a level enough head on his shoulders that he's just like, all right, so
he
what's
is
next?
1-0.
Right.
1-0 as a rubber duck.
There you go.
So, real excited to have him on the show. It was fantastic. Tweet us your comments if you have any reaction to Adam. He is the highest ranked draft pick from Canandaigua Academy. We had another player drafted this year.
I was going to say, how many did you have?
Stop it. I believe it was I want to say it was like in the 20th round. He has decided to go to Penn State instead of playing for the Cincinnati Reds, because who wants to play for the Cincinnati Reds?
Certainly not the Cincinnati Reds.
No, and we want to get into the Indians in much more detail, but let's just say this. The Indians are continuing to play well basically because of their young pitching and the fact that they're actually hitting the ball, which in baseball is fairly important. So the Indians are really moving up in terms of their level of play. They are also getting closer to the Minnesota Twins. And I said on this show that it was June and that the Indians were coming.
Yeah.
And I think they are. And we'll get more into that later. In the few minutes we do have left, though, I want to cover something from the NFL. This is something that came out a couple weeks ago now. Hard Knocks, HBO series Hard Knocks, has been very popular. It's kind of a two-edged sword. I think fans love it. It gets good ratings. It really develops stars and it develops storylines. I remember last year with the Browns that heavy offensive line coach became kind of the sensation, and you always have those rookies that are getting cut or those last cuts that are making the team. It resonates with fans because we don't get that kind of access in a sport like the NFL,
right,
that is built around really secrecy and built around repetition and routine. You don't get that access. You want that access. Hard Knocks gives it to you.
Right.
On the other hand, teams hate it.
They do.
Football teams are made of routines. Coaches have control. Hard Knocks gives you neither of those. So here we go. This year's winner, air quotes, for being on Hard Knocks is the Oakland Raiders. This is an easy pick. You have Richie Incognito, who is a crazy person. He was the one that lost a year of his NFL career because he bullied the offensive lineman in Miami. You have Antonio Bryant, who is also a crazy person and is going to try to develop chemistry, a.k.a. swear at Derek Carr. You have the coach known as Chucky, John Gruden, who will drop more F-bombs and you will eat bacon in the morning.
Chucky.
That was fantastic. And plus, it's built-in advertising, although HBO doesn't have advertising. But with the new Child's Play movie coming out, I think it's perfect.
There you go.
And you have the pending move to Las Vegas. There was just a lot going on in the crazy world that is the Oakland Raiders. And you have a fan base that is crazed. So it's a very good and easy pick. Now, one thing that should be noted here, there are certain teams that cannot say no. You have to do Hard Knocks. The NFL's contract requires that you have to do Hard Knocks once. And Oakland was a team that had not done it. So they could not say no. They did not affirmatively choose to be on this show.
Right.
And you could have done it next year. You could have done it next year because they're moving to Las Vegas. That stadium's going to be cool. It's going to be in the desert. There's going to be gambling. But even that is not going to compare.
There's going to be the drone jail.
Oh, I love the drone jail. I love that story, too. But this dumpster fire that we're going to see this year, Richie Incognito is probably going to stab somebody in practice. Antonio Bryant's probably going to, demand a trade. I do have a clip. Okay, we have a clip of John Gruden and his beep. That is actually going to be the entire John Gruden segment of Hard Knocks. One long beep.
Right.
Because he cannot do anything without swearing his face off. So, Hard Knocks is happening. I wanted the Giants to do it, by the way, because David Gettleman is also a crazy person. And Eli Manning He is, bold prediction time, kids. Eli Manning will not be your starter day one for the New York Giants. It's going to be Daniel Jones. He's getting outplayed by Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is an NFL-level quarterback. Eli Manning is not. And Saquon Barkley may be the best player in the NFL that nobody gives a damn about.
What's her name again?
Hey, Saquon's a male name. Don't be mean.
I was just one of those digs and one of those people you've just never, the greatest person you've never heard of.
Right. Like John O'Donnell.
Although I had reserved that for, I'll tell you the story of Floyd Mayweather.
Okay.
And why I always said, what's her name again?
That is a great tease. And as we take our break, we are going to be coming back with Rick Carpenter of the Windsor Pub, assuming he's awake.
What's her name again?
Oh, poor Rick. Now
I have a feeling the first time I actually do see Rick, he's just probably going to smack me in the nose. Just one good one. It's like, all right, you earned that one. Now we're
kick
good.
Square to Genie Bus's nuts.
I'm telling you.
We are going to take a break. We'll be back with Rick Carpenter. Lots more here on Cinder Block Sports on the SKO Radio Network.